Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Usually I'm saying good afternoon, but today I am saying good morning. Good Wednesday morning. It's always a blessing to have another day of life, another day to share God's love, to another day to live off the blessings of being a child of God. It's just such an opportunity. And my name is Portia. Matter of fact, let me say my whole name. Portia Elaine Stanley Wheatley, and I am the president of a nonprofit organization acknowledged as Trophy of Life Incorporated, where we have the opportunity to render hope and encouragement to individuals all over the world. So I am so very grateful to be here on today. Now, I'm inviting you, I'll invite my guests in, well, shall I say, introduce her shortly, but I just wanted her to be in on this piece as well. But I want you to know that you're able to view this podcast or this Facebook Live as well as on Facebook and YouTube. So I'm going to ask if you would go to um, the YouTube channel of Trophy of Life Incorporated, like, tag, share. And I realize that many people do not have a Facebook account. So pretty much everyone has are able to get online. And you better believe YouTube is online. So those that do not have a, a Facebook account, feel free to visit Trophy of Life and our guest on YouTube. So I have the opportunity to share with many, many guests, many, many topics. And today I have the opportunity to share the platform with Miss Ashley Raico Bisesi. And that I had to practice that last name, so sometimes my tongue get a little twisted, but I got it right. I got it right. But I wanted to welcome Ashley here on the platform. We're going to be talking about a couple of things, and that is the loss of her mom and how she got through that, and which led maybe into depression, how she got through that. And then today, where she is today, in a good place with God, even through life journey and through life's issues and challenges. Somewhere along the line, she lost contact with God and did had some mistakes, like all of us do, mistakes in life. And but today I am grateful, and I know she's grateful as well, and her dad is grateful. Everybody is grateful that she has a good relationship with the Lord on today. And may I say, even on today, the way the world is in, the shape that the world is in on today, it is very crucial that we have a relationship with God. And I know none of us are perfect. We already know that. Let's get that out of the way right now. None of us are perfect, but we strive for perfection because God in us, He's the hope of glory, and He helps us to be who He wants us to be. And if we direct our focus to Him, He'll make us what He wants us to be. So, on that note, Ashley, I want to take this time just to say thank you for accepting my invitation to come and share your experience that can help the masses. That's one of the things I love about individuals who have gone through challenges in life. They've gone through challenges in life. And once they've come through it, and of course, again, with the help of God, once they come through it, they are at a place where they can turn around and say, and look at someone else who may have gone through or is going through what you've experienced in life, but that particular individual is able to turn around and say, I've been through that. Let me share with you what got me through. It may not be the same thing, but if
Mm.
now the word of God says God has no respect of persons. So if he did it for Ashley, he'll do it for someone else. If he did it for Portia, he'll do it for someone else. And we cannot allow to keep all of that, the know-how or the how-to, keep that to ourselves because people are waiting to hear Ashley, how did you get through what you did go through? But I'm going to release the platform to you. I'll probably most likely be interrupting, prayerfully, not rudely interrupting, because I'm at the age now. I have to either write it down or say it while it's on my mind so I won't
Mm-hmm.
forget the question. But start us off with this this Facebook conversation. Start with the loss of your mom, but then again,
Mm.
you don't even really have to start there. What's on your heart? I want you to start there.
Okay. Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me. I love getting to share my story, especially if it can help people. So I'm really appreciative to be here. Um, but yeah, I think starting with my mom's death is a good place because it kind of really kicks things off.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I lost my mom when I was 8, which is really young, and it was a shock. Um, she passed from an accidental drug overdose. Um, and yes, I'm grateful that my dad and my mom both had really strong faith in God and Jesus. And so they raised me in the faith. And I'm so appreciative of that because that is what got me through, especially my dad teaching me to pray. And so the night that my mom passed, I actually had no idea. It happened at night, and I got woken up by just people being loud. And all of a sudden, was a bunch of family in my house. Didn't know why. And I yelled for my dad, but my aunt came in the room, and she pretty much was just like, "There's been a misunderstanding. I'm taking you to grandma's. You're going to stay the night over grandma's." Nobody told me anything.
Wow.
Um, I don't even remember the ride there. I just remember, I remember there was a police officer, um, but we got to my grandma's, and my grandma was still up watching TV, and my grandma didn't know anything either. They didn't tell her anything yet. I think things were still kind of happening. Nobody really knew had any answers yet. So I remember laying in my grandma's bed, and I just had this gut feeling that my mom was dead. Like nobody said anything to me. There was no way that I really could have known. I just felt it. And so that was the first time that I can remember that I prayed to God. I called out to God in in pain and desperation. And I don't know how long I prayed for, like because our memories are not as precise as we think they are.
Hmm.
So it felt like hours. I just kept repeating, God, please don't let my mom be dead. Please don't let my mom be dead. I just kept saying that until I couldn't like take it anymore. And I got up and I went in and sat with my grandma, who was still sitting in her living room watching TV. And she was surprised that I was still awake. So that's kind of what makes me think that I was just praying for hours. And then I told her, I was like, Grandma, I think my mom might be dead. And that shocked her. She was like, I am sure that's not the case. Like, she was surprised that that even came out of my mouth. Um, and then I guess I went to bed. And then the next morning, my dad came and picked me up, and he told me that, in fact, she had passed. And of course, we cried a whole lot and all of that. And so that was the first time that I remember ever calling out to God. But also, that was the first time that God did not answer my prayer the way that I wanted him to, which is often the case. And so I'm grateful for this experience because it really helped me learn at an early age these things, even though it was hard. And so, even though God didn't answer my prayer the way I wanted him to, still at a very young age, I felt his provision and his protection. And I
Wow.
felt his peace. Like, I just kind of felt like, okay, like he's not answering it the way I want to, but I felt like I heard Holy Spirit whisper, like, it's going to be okay, though. And it was. And so, like, I didn't go to school for like a month, I think. I was able to just stay home, just me and my dad. I mean, neighbors showed up, friends and family showed up. Um, God sent so many people in our lives to help me, especially my aunt, being a motherly figure in my life. She was my godmother. So she really helped me, but also God provided, I think, in taking away people, family members that were not helpful and did not have the best intentions as well. So like a lot of people on my mom's side of the family um are not the best influences, I would say. Like I mean, I had a family member, like I think like my mom had just passed and they wanted to take my dad to court over a silverware set that was given to them as a marriage gift. My dad was like, you can just have the silverware set. Like, so it's just like stuff like that. I think some family members may have came over and stole some stuff. Again, my memory may not be perfect, but just like family members that just didn't have the best intentions, God removed from my life. And
Now, let me
so,
stop you right there. Hold your thought. Now, that's an
yeah.
important statement or share that you just gave. It's amazing. Now, even at that age, whether it's at the age of 8, that relationship you developed or started with God, and then even with family, how you said God takes not necessarily family out of your life. Let's just say people out of your life. So, to
Mm-hmm.
the audience, we have to recognize when there are people who just drain you of your energy or drain you of your spiritual connection. It is God. Sometimes it is God. Now we have to be careful if it's us personal, if it's a personal, I just don't like you, something like that, or
Yeah.
indeed, like in your experience, if it is indeed God, because God knows the plan that He has for you. He
Yeah.
knew that even at an early age, He knew the plan that He had for you, and He knew maybe your heart, because it was family or even friends, because of your heart, you wanted to remain connected, but because of the negativity, because of um, the negative energy that they were bringing, because they were not in the plan for you. It had to be, but it's good that you accepted that rather than
Yeah. That took a
God put
couple
a
years.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You may not recognize it at the same time. It took
Yeah.
took a while, but you had to see that for yourself. It wasn't where you, excuse me, it wasn't where you woke up one day and like, oh no, I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to embrace you as who you think you are in my life. We have to be bold enough, which you were, to, or shall I say, accept what God has for you. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a scripture that talks about how we must agree with God quickly. Now, if we try to hang on to that person, God knows where you would be today.
Yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily be in this positive spot where you're able to share that experience. And we know, and I and the audience know that you're healed from it because you're not emotional in sharing.
Mm.
When an experience happens in our lives, so great of a hurt and pain as the loss of your mother, and it could be something else, whether it's drugs, alcohol, any loss of a child, something like that. When we get to the point where that particular part of our lives are so sensitive, and there are people in our lives that want to pull us and drain us and
Mm-hmm.
destroy us, because there are people that want to destroy us, whether it's our integrity, our personality, our character, or whatever. But when you we, uh, okay, because I get excited but when you're able to accept what God
Mm-hmm.
says you're supposed to do, that's a good thing. And
It's so freeing
yeah.
because,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, because I went through something similar. Like, I can look back and say that, like, this is what I learned, but like I said, it took years. But I
Absolutely.
also, sometimes it takes us a couple times, right? And so, like, I still make mistakes. And so there was this guy that I dated before my husband, obviously, who was really not good. And everyone around me knew it. And I just latched on. I didn't, even though I knew God was whispering, you need to
Wow.
let it go. I held on for 2 years. And God was telling me the whole time, this is not the man I have for you. This is not the life I have for you. And I held on, and I was so, that kind of added to like what I'll talk about, like anxiety and depression. And then when I finally was able to give it to God and to surrender to what He had for me, it was so easy and freeing. And I was like, wow, like I look back, I'm like, why did I stay in that relationship for so long, you know? And so when you can let go of what you think you want and surrender to God, I mean, like it says, I think in Matthew, it says, seek first the kingdom of God, and then all these things will be added unto you. It took me years to like really figure that out. And now it just makes sense. And it's so much more freeing. There's so much more peace in that because it's not on you. And God knows better. God knows, people's hearts and their thoughts. And He knows the thoughts that people are thinking about you, the things they're saying behind your back, And so, yeah.
Definitely so. So where did that loss, by the time you had lost your mom and that whole experience, what did that lead you into? Was that the level of
So So at first, there was a container of like peace, even though I didn't get what I wanted, God still provided. And I think I was at such a young age and I was in shock. I had nothing else to do but to just surrender. I just surrendered to my dad, surrendered to God, surrendered to whatever was happening. But then as time went on, I started to develop separation anxiety. I started to think of like, oh, if my mom can die, or if God, can take my mom at any time, who's to say that He's not going to take my dad too? And so, like, our parents are that's where our parents are so crucial to our being alive as children, but also regulating our emotions and developing our brain. And so when something like that happens, um, and like it's like your world kind of gets pulled out from underneath of you as a child, and you're like, oh, well, because usually as kids, you don't think about your parents dying. That's not something that kids just like think about normally until one does. And so then and the thing is when I started thinking about, oh, my dad could die, instead of trusting God with that and surrendering it, I took it on myself. And what happens when we take things that aren't ours to hold on to? It creates anxiety. So, and that anxiety didn't really kick in until middle school because sometimes these things can sit dormant until there's a big life event that brings it to the surface. And so that big life event for me was transitioning from elementary school to middle school. So I was
mm,
going from this really small school to a huge school, not knowing anybody and all of this stuff. And so I started just like getting stomach aches in sixth grade. And I'd go to the nurse, I'd call my dad, he'd pick me up. That would happen every day that happened every day for maybe like a week. And then my dad was like, okay, we got to go to the doctors. So we go to the doctors. They did all kinds of tests, all kinds of screening stuff, thinking something was wrong with my stomach. And then finally, I got diagnosed with anxiety. And at the time, I was like, what, 11? I thought it was stupid because they told me like anxiety, like it's in your head. And I'm like, no, my stomach really hurts. Like I didn't understand that. I didn't really understand what anxiety was as an 11-year-old. And so, but it got so bad that I could not leave my dad. So he would drop me off at school and I would cry. I would kick, scream, and cry. Didn't want to go in that building. Didn't want to go to school. And some days he would give up and he'd try to drop me off at school and he'd just take me back home. Like he did not know what to do. And it even got so bad to the point where I couldn't even stay the night over friends' houses anymore. So, you know, as kids, you stay the night. I
Yeah.
had my best friends lived in my neighborhood. They lived literally right down the street, not that far from my house. And I would stay the night over their house all the time. And all of a sudden, like a switch, I couldn't stay the night over their house anymore. And I'm so thankful for those friends. I'm still, we're not as close, but they were like my childhood best friends from elementary school all the way through high school. And I'm so grateful for them because they played such a key role in my healing and in me being able to do things. Like they were so patient with me as kids that like they would really want me to stay the night. And I remember my friend was like, she was like, here, we'll take a picture of your dad and we'll bring it to my house. And when you miss him, I'll just like hold it and pretend to be him.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
yeah. And so I had really good, I mean, God really blessed me with really good friends. But
Now
so
let
it
me
got to
say
this,
that. Let
yeah.
me say, hold that thought. Now, with you being younger than me, you got to hold that thought and remember it.
Okay.
Now,
I
remember
got
it
it.
with with that stage in your life, that anxiety is something else. And see, I've never had the anxiety like that. Um, so I can't say, oh girl, just get over it, something like
Yeah.
that. That this thing is really real. So during that time, were you still having a relationship with God? Because I asked that because adults deal with that as well, not
Mm-hmm.
just young people. Now at that age you
Mm-hmm.
were around 11 and 12, 13,
Mm-hmm.
because you said middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Adults still deal with that as well. So we have to know that even in the midst of our lives, God loving us and dealing with anxiety, we
Mm-hmm.
have to be understanding of those individuals who
Mm-hmm.
have that issue.
Yeah. And so I'd say that at that time, I don't remember really. So I actually kind of, that period of my life, middle school, so from 11 to 13, was so traumatic for me that I have actually blacked some of it out in my brain. Um, but I don't remember my faith in Jesus or God at that time. And I think what happened is that I put my dad in the place of God at that
Gotcha.
point. I
It's
was
real.
so reliant on my dad. He was my lifeline and I wasn't reaching out to God. I mean, my dad was, you know, he would read the Bible to me at night, and I'd be like, okay, and like we'd still go to church and stuff. But I think I started to kind of disengage a little bit, and I just like put my dad in the God spot. Um, and I think that's usually what exacerbates anxiety is that we're not focused on God, we're focused on the problem. I think that's what really creates anxiety and makes it worse.
You're so
And
right.
so, yeah. And so, my dad, my dad ended up actually having to go to school with me, sit in every single one of my classes from the
What?
middle of sixth grade through the middle of seventh grade. He did that every single day. He was able to retire after my mom died. And so every single day, he went to school with me and he sat in every single one of my classes. That was the only way I was able to go to school.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful to have a dad that did that. But and I'm so also grateful that I had a dad that recognized that, like, okay, this doesn't solve the problem. And so I'm thankful my dad, this is like one of the things I'm so grateful for is that my dad put me in therapy as a child. Um, and I'm so glad that he did that because it taught me a couple things. One, we went through like maybe four, I think three different therapists for me. We went through three different therapists until we got somewhere. Um, and so that taught me as an adult when I suffered with depression, because my dad put me in therapy as a child, as an adult, when I realized I had a problem, I said, okay, I need to go to therapy. And I put myself in therapy. If I hadn't have been exposed to therapy as a child, I wouldn't have gone. And I think a lot of people are resistant to therapy, or they just have this negative thing about therapy. Therapy means you're crazy. You know what I mean?
You're right.
There's a lot of baggage around therapy. And I don't know. I guess I'm blessed. I never had any assumptions about therapy. It was just what my dad put me in. And so I had no problem going as an adult because I knew that it helped. I knew that it worked.
Definitely.
But I
Definitely.
also knew that the first therapist isn't always the best one. You're not going to click with
It's
each
true.
therapist. And
You're
so
right.
trying out different ones, if you sit with one for a month and you're like, she's just not, or he's just not really getting it, it's okay to end that client, professional relationship and check out somebody new and see if they can help.
Definitely
Because,
so. Now, even in our culture, we were like in the religious culture, or shall I say, those
mm,
individuals who have a relationship with God, many do think that something is wrong with the individual if they have to go see a therapist.
mm-hmm.
Not
Now
so.
I
That
call Christian therapists.
yeah, yeah,
They do have Christian therapists in case,
absolutely,
but
absolutely.
yeah,
Sometimes my kid and say we pay our tithes, our offerings, and the therapist, and that kind of like make sure you have the money because it's always good to talk
yeah,
something out. You
mm-hmm.
have the answer. You just need some assistance with it and
Yeah,
talk it out. Going to your going to your friends is not always the best thing. It is not.
yeah,
First go to God. But you
yeah,
said something important when you said you put your father in the place of God. And
mm-hmm.
even that was out of order, but at that time it was in order for you to get you to the next stage.
Yeah,
So it is amazing how God can provide you with programming or stages. Shall I? Yeah, that's a better word. Stages to get you to your place of wholeness. There is
mm,
wholeness is for you because God said we can have
mm-hmm.
it. Wholeness is for us, but we just can't go from A to D. You got it.
Yeah,
A, B, C, D. It's
yeah,
their stages, got to do it in order. Otherwise, you're gonna when we jump too quickly, we have to come back and do
mm-hmm.
stages all over again, which is not good.
Yeah,
But that was a blessing that the Lord got you through. Even depression got you through that.
mm-hmm.
Well, the
Yeah,
anxiety and then
the
the
depression.
depression.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and sometimes they go together. But yeah, I'd say depression. So, like, even though I was eventually able to go to school by myself, thanks to therapy and God, um, I still struggled with anxiety pretty badly. I was even put on medication for it as a kid, which, if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. I Some people, do. I wouldn't put myself on it now. I wouldn't. I never. I wouldn't recommend that to somebody.
Yeah.
But if you need it, you need it, and I needed it as a kid. Um, and I went through some health stuff. Like I started getting like migraines, and usually they were triggered by like anxiety and stuff. And so when I got to high school, depression kind of started bubbling to the surface, but I had an outlet, which was dance. I loved dance. I was so passionate about dance. I danced from the time I was 8 until, college. And I dance around my house now, but I'm not like dancing. But so that was kind of like my lifeline too. And I think dance was pretty up there in the idolizing for me.
Yeah.
But dance really helped me to express myself, because at that time I wasn't very good with words. Now I am. Now I love to talk. I can talk all the time. But but as a kid, I wasn't very good with words, and so art and dance was how I was able to really express myself. Because oftentimes these emotions, I don't know if you've ever read the book. I recommend this book for everybody. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it
I
talks
heard
all
of it.
about, it's an amazing book. And so like these emotions, when they're left unaddressed, they stay in your body and they can be trapped. And you need, like, emotions are energy and you need to move them out, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and express them. So that was really helpful. But then um, out of high school, going into college, I was dancing. I majored in dance. I taught dance for like 20 years. It feels like
Wow.
probably like 15 years I taught dance. Cause I started teaching when I was in high school still. So I taught for a very long time. Loved it. And then in high school, I was on dance company, majoring in dance. My last year of college, I injured my back. I herniated a disc in my spine, which caused excruciating nerve pain in my legs. There was one time where I re-injured it pretty closely after I first injured it, and I was on bed rest for 2 weeks. I couldn't put any
Mm.
pressure on my left leg. And I, of course, was going to doctors and everything, and I went and saw an orthopedic surgeon. And he said that I'm very grateful that God also blessed me with doctors that were honest, that weren't trying to, just get money and, whatever. They were very honest with me. And this one orthopedic surgeon, he said, Dr. Bethel, I'll always remember him. He said, that he's seeing a lot more dancers come in his office. He's used to seeing gymnasts, but he's seeing a lot more dancers lately. And he basically told me that, like, because I was 22 at the time, and he said that I was far too young to operate on because back surgery hasn't advanced like the rest of the medical
Right,
fields have. They're still
right.
putting a metal rod in your spine. And he said, it's like a 50% chance. It's a 50% chance it could make it better, or it could make it worse, or it could stay the same. And he told me that I have to make a decision of whether or not dance is worth my health later in life. Because he said that I can just be walking down the sidewalk one day and step wrong, re-herniate my disc, and not be able to walk for the rest of my life.
Why?
So he was like, I really urge you to take this seriously. And he didn't say that he recommended me stop dancing, but he really put the pressure on of like, do you really want to keep dancing if it's going to keep really injuring your back? And so he told me to do all these other things. He's like, go do acupuncture, go do yoga, try anything and everything else besides surgery right now. And in 5 years, if you're in the same place, then we'll talk about surgery.
But
And
but
so,
dance was your outlet. You love to dance.
yeah.
So
And
okay.
so, yeah. So I basically felt like I had to give up dance. And that is what kicked me off into the nosedive of depression. Because,
Wow.
dance is my life. That was
Yes.
my plan A, B, and C. I loved it. That's what I was going to school for. Um, that was just my plan. That was everything. And so now I have to give this up. And so that really just kicked me off into deep, deep depression that lasted like 7 years,
Wow.
7, 8 years. Yeah. And it got so bad that, so unfortunately, at this time, I definitely was not very close to God. I was living with a boyfriend. Don't recommend. Don't do that. But I
Yeah.
was living with a boyfriend at the time. And I am grateful that I was living with him, though, because, being a dancer, I'm a performer, right? I can perform, I can pretend that nothing's wrong, and I can do it pretty well for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, my friends and my coworkers didn't really suspect anything, but when I'm at home, I can't keep it up anymore, And so all of it goes. And so my boyfriend at the time was able to see me raw and like how I was really feeling. And I will never forget, he said this to me. He had never had anxiety or depression. He didn't know how to relate to it. He didn't really know what was wrong with me. We were young. And so this might sound kind of harsh, but I think it's what I needed to hear. And he said to me one day, because he was kind of fed up, because I would sleep all day. Sleep was the closest thing that I could get to death without actually dying, because I didn't
Ooh.
want to be here anymore. I didn't want to be here
Mm.
anymore. And so I didn't have the guts to take myself out of this world. And I prayed for 5 or 7 years. I prayed every day for God to take me in my sleep. That was my prayer.
And that
Um,
was the result of depression, being in depression,
yes,
being
being
depressed.
depressed. Yeah, and one day the guy I was dating at the time finally said, like, Ashley, you're walking around like you're waiting for somebody to come shoot you in the head. And I was like,
Mm.
oh, like that's how I felt inside. And I was like, I thought I was hiding it. I thought I was hiding it well, but I couldn't hide it from him. So I was like, oh. And I was finally like, okay, I need to get help. But this is a thing. I didn't want to get help for me. I wanted to get help for the people around me because I still didn't care about myself. I would have rather died. Like I was still praying for God to to take me because I didn't want to be here anymore.
So
And
what do you mean? What do you mean when you say you were praying for everyone else? In the sense of you didn't want them to go through what you were experiencing, or
no, I didn't want because I knew that my depression, if somebody could see that I am hurting, that's going to hurt those who love me.
okay,
And so the only thing that kept me here, honestly, because I actually had a plan not to make it to my 26th birthday. Not many people know that. Um, but the thing that kept me here was my dad because I could not put him through that. I couldn't. Like, and my grandma also. So my dad and my grandma kept me here the most because I didn't want to have my dad have to bury his child, his only child, and my grandma to have to bury her grandchild. And after
mm,
my grandma died, though, I was like, oh, maybe I can go through with this. So it was still ruminating in my head. And so the thing that saved me, this is kind of what brought me back to Jesus. Like I started kind of re-exploring my faith at this point a little bit because I was so desperate. And I knew it's like in the back of my mind, I knew the only thing that was going to get me out of it was God. But
God,
I still wasn't super like committed. And so like I started reading my Bible a little bit. I started praying more. Um and but the thing that saved me was that one day randomly, like I was in my room by myself and I was ruminating about how I would want to kill myself essentially. And my dad was cleaning out the attic for some reason. He was just going through stuff. And I left my room, walked in the hallway to go to the bathroom. And then on my way back, my dad goes, hey, you know that you were in an accident, right? And I was like, totally caught me off guard. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know. I never questioned it. I never thought about it. That wasn't a thought in my mind. And he was holding this receipt and he said, you were very, I might cry, sorry. He was like, you are very much purposed. And he said that my mom, after she had her 3 kids, she had her tubes tied. And so my dad married her knowing that they probably weren't going to have kids. And then one day my mom sat him down and said, I want to have a baby. And so they paid 10 grand of their own money in the 90s, which is a lot,
yes.
to have her tubes reversed just to be able to have me.
Woo!
And that procedure,
Wow.
like it doesn't work all the time. I think it's like a
Right.
50%
Right.
chance. And they had me and that, oh my God, that knocked me. I went back into my room and I fell on my knees and I was like, how selfish am I? Like my mom went through so much
Mm-hmm.
just to have me. And here I am ready to throw it all away.
Wow.
And that is the first time that I called out to Jesus and I said, okay, Jesus, help me. Like, I need help. So help me. Because I stopped going to therapy. I was in therapy. It was actually funny. I was in therapy and the therapist kept asking me if I had grieved from my mom's death. And that just like irritated me because I was like, yes, I have grieved. Like, that was a long time ago. I grieved. It's fine. And so I stopped seeing her because she kept bringing it up and it was annoying. So I just stopped going. And I realized that, like, yes, I did grieve my mom's death to the extent that an 8-year-old brain could. So then,
Mm,
as an adult woman, I had to kind of go back and grieve her death in a different way because I
mm,
realized that I actually didn't really know my mom and a lot like so much of who we are our parents. And so
True.
when you don't know one of them, it feels more of like you don't, there's a part of yourself that you don't know. So I started exploring, I started talking to like her old friends and stuff and just getting to know her more. And that was very healing. And I know that I will probably, this is an assumption that I have, that I'll probably also have to grieve my mom's death again in a different way when I become a mother. And so like
Ooh,
the thing is like healing has stages, and it's not something you can rush, and it's not something that you can like get to the end to. Don't be trying to like get to the end, because there might not be an end, you know? I mean, I think like
continuous.
there is, but like
Hmm.
we're never going to be perfect on this side of glory. And so we can only do so much that we can with the help of God
True.
and what God wants us to know. And the thing is like um we're not always ready to understand and know things at certain times. God reveals
Yes.
things slowly. Like that's one thing that's so beautiful, that I find beautiful now. I didn't at the time. I
Yeah.
find beautiful now is that God really takes his time. He is so patient, and he takes his time. And so if you can just surrender to his timing, it's just like the most freeing and the most
It
beautiful
is.
thing
It
there
is
is.
absolutely freeing. It is absolutely
Yeah.
freeing when we surrender to Him. Let me go back
Yeah.
to um, when Charlie is her dad's name, Charles, I would imagine.
Yeah.
He's currently my neighbor, the best neighbor. I have a great neighbor on one side of me and another great neighbor, Jennifer, on the other side of me.
Hmm.
I'm in between great neighbors. Anyway, and even on today, when we meet at the fence, it's a fence that separates Charlie's house and my house, and we just talk about God, we talk about children, we talk about it all. But that was so special when you talked about how your mom and dad um, agreed to have her tubes untied so that
Hmm.
you could be born. That is,
Hmm.
and one of our online um, viewers has stated, you have purpose. That was, you were meant to be. You were meant to
Hmm.
be, and you have
Yeah.
purpose. And even if it is nothing else but sit and tell this exact story that you just shared today, this experience that you just shared today, you are freeing so many people. You're freeing them from understanding and seeing what anxiety does to a person. You're freeing
Hmm.
them to see, even in, especially in your youth, you're freeing them to say that in the midst of all of this, God shows up in every stage of your life. You're freeing them even in depression. We don't have to die in depression. God
Hmm.
takes us through depression. You're
Hmm.
freeing them in seeing, as a young person, what God can still do in your life as long as you trust Him, and you don't have to believe as a young person. You don't have to believe as someone who's three times older than you or something like that. God sees you on your level, at
Hmm.
your age, at your stage. So it is
Hmm.
you're just freeing the people. So to our audience, in the different stages that she shared on today, you may know someone who, as a young person, has anxiety. You may know an adult who has anxiety. You may know someone who's lost their mother and may have to go through this experience or is in this experience. I invite you to share this Facebook Live, and just understand, don't forget, as I stated at the very beginning, that many people do not have a Facebook account, but this live will be downloaded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. So you can go there and view it, invite your friends and family and young people to view it there. Portia Weekly Trophy of Life, and you will be able to even have a conversation with them. It
Hmm.
is amazing what you've shared on today, how freeing it will be for individuals who never thought about how they can function, but yet hurt other people in their functioning. And because
Hmm.
behind closed doors, you really go back into, if we're not delivered or if we're not whole, you go back into that same state of mind, those same emotions. that same state of depression,
Mhm.
but when you're out and about, you're functioning.
Yeah.
So that's not a sign of wholeness, but it is a place where God can walk us through it. Walk us
Yeah.
through it. Ashley, can you believe we've been on here for 45 minutes already? And I said we're gonna do it about 30 minutes. But my thing is, if the passion that you have to share your life experience with individuals, that's definitely a blessing. Matter of fact, I ask you about purpose. Now, don't forget, this is
Mm.
one of I believe, but you have to know for yourself what your purpose is in life. Because audience, I really believe whatever God has led you to do or a purpose you to do in this earth, be be excited about it. One,
Mhm.
another is it may not be what other people are doing. It may
Mm.
be something very, very simple. It may be simple to me. It may be complicated to someone else. Whatever God purposed you to do in this life, I encourage you to get busy and do it. Get
Mhm.
busy. People are literally dropping off, they say, like flies. That meaning so many people, you're here today and they used to say you're here today and you're gone tomorrow.
Mm.
But now, the way times are, you're here today and you're gone today. So I
Yeah.
encourage you, I encourage you with all my heart, mind, soul, and body to activate, activate, activate that purpose that God has given you. Whatever it
Mm.
is, activate, activate, activate. What is that? What is that woman? The woman on what, Steve Harvey? We met activate. Shoot, what was the other? Come on, Ashley, help me with that.
Um,
Holy Spirit activate. That was it. Holy
yeah.
Spirit activate. So I'm like, I really do encourage you. But before we leave on this platform, I want you to empty out and share everything you wanted to share. I don't care how long it takes. Um, really, because I'm of the persuasion that if God has given you the opportunity to share with the world, there's
Mm.
something there that has to
Mhm.
be stated, that has to be
Mm.
shared, that has to be um, shared with the world to free them, to lock them
Mm.
into what God says they are to be or what they're supposed to do.
Mm.
So, before we close, what else is it that you would like to share with the world?
Um, I think just that everyone is purposed. You know, I think, what is it? I forget what Psalm it is, but God knits you in your mother's womb. And so He knows the numbers of hair on your head. You are so purposed, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes. Also, feelings aren't truth. You know,
Hmm.
we feel things, feelings are fleeting, they come and go, but God's word is true. And And I think if you can just like really grasp that, what Jesus says when he says to seek first the kingdom of God, and then everything you ask will be added onto you. If you can like understand that, because I prayed for years to die, but that is not of God's character. God is not death or darkness, and he's not going to grant that. God is life, light, truth, love, all of that. And so if you can align yourself with that and finally just like let go of what you think you want and say, God, what do you have for me? That is what I want. I want what you have for me. Like, you'll, your mind will be blown of what God gives you.
Your mind, you would
Really.
be blown away.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me read a statement that one of our individuals who was online watching. This is from Marie Muzan. She says, "Death is never an option.
Mm-hmm.
You do not get to come back to say, I should have done or I should have listened. The process of life is challenging, but worth it all. Your testimony, Ashley, is amazing." So,
Mm.
and then I have a friend that says, your life has become a lifeline to someone else. We shared that
Mm,
earlier. Your lifeline has become a lifeline to someone else. People have to realize the experience that they have gone through in life. There are millions of people that may have gone through the same thing. And if they have come out of that experience in a good place and whole, because I say, in the midst of brokenness, it's not the time to share trying to help someone else. We have to help ourselves.
yeah.
And that is also, it can be turned as a time of bleeding. Is a time to, we have to help ourselves rather than to go and bleed on other individuals.
Yeah.
But God is there. He's right where we left him.
Yeah.
Wherever we left God, we can go right back to that place and like
Mm-hmm.
pick up again. And he loves us just as much as when we left him the first time.
Yeah.
But people have to realize, our audience, please realize, people are waiting for the words that fall from your lips if they
Mm-hmm.
are positive and God spoken,
Mm.
and spoken in love. So again, thank you, Ashley. Matter of fact, where is Mr. Dominic?
He's downstairs. I think he's making me lunch.
Go get go get Dominic. I want everyone to see. Well, then again, that I guess I know he was working outside, but you got to see this couple right here is so special. And matter of
Thank
fact,
you.
where's the dog, Buka?
The dog, he's probably downstairs. Hold on, let me see. Hey, babe. Come up here. Come up here. They're coming.
Okay, look, they're coming.
Here's Buka.
Where's
Can you
Buka?
see him?
Look, hey, Dominic.
Hey, I can't hear
Hey
you.
there.
With your
Look, what are
headphones, but
you
hi.
making her lunch? You're making her lunch?
Yeah. Are you making
Oh,
me lunch?
okay.
Who are you?
Now, this is Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. And look, um, Raico Bisesi. Bisesi.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Where's Buka? We got to see Buka.
He's down
He's
here.
down here.
He's in the
Yes, Buka.
middle
Hey, Buka. Hey, Buka. I'll see you when you walk by. Again, thank you, ladies. Look, thank you, ladies and gentlemen who join us on today. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Thank you, Buka. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
everyone who was able to join us on today. I really do appreciate you stopping by to listen in. And believe me, when we present or have presenters to come and share their life stories, they are stories or things that really will help the audience, really would help families, really would help young people. We have young people, generation, older people, senior citizens, teenagers, but all of them have something to share that will help us in this life on today. Again, thank you. I love you. God bless you. And we'll see you soon. All right. Bye bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye bye.